Hello and welcome to episode 1164 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, April 17th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined today by Justin Mason. Justin, good day, sir.
Good. It is afternoon. Good
That's
afternoon. How
right.
you doing?
That's right. I'm doing pretty well. Got a little baseball on, lasting longer than we thought because it is the Marathon Day Patriots game that was delayed pretty badly, for a good long time. And the weather looks disgusting right now, too, while they are playing. So it's fantasy folks' least one of the least favorite days of the year because while there is early baseball, it creates the lineup issue to where you have to have your lineup in so early. You on the West Coast, like
Mm-hmm.
crazy early, because a lot of leagues lock everything, you know, just for that game. Which, by the way, design flaw. Fix that. But even in general, if it slips your mind or something and you have a Red Sox or an Angel that maybe you wanted to make a move with one way or the other, you might have woken up to some bad news today.
Every year, every year, every year, it's a problem for me because I'm on the West Coast. And this year, I was all like, I woke up at like 7:30, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
after going to bed at like 3, and I was all like, okay, game starts at like 8 my time. I'm gonna make sure everything's done. And then I got the news, hey, it's delayed. I was like, oh, I've got some time, right? So of course at like 8:30, like a half hour before they're actually gonna start, I go to check and my lineup's fucking locked. And I'm
Because
all
the
like,
system locks it at the
yeah.
time that it's supposed to start
So I
because
was
they
able
don't
to
know.
go out to my like commissioner and be like, hey dude, like game hasn't even started. It's fucking
Yeah,
locked. Like, can you move Jose Suarez so I don't get Jose Suarez versus uh the Yankees in my lineup this week? And
you're not
but
dying for that one.
but then I forgot to like say like, oh, can you also move Chris Sale out of my lineup? So Chris Sale's
Wait, what league is that?
it is
You can't be benching Chris Sale.
yeah, dude, this is a good team. So
It better
this
be really good.
uh it is the Gotham Diamond Dynasty. It's a bunch of industry guys
Okay,
that typically draft like the weekend of Tout Wars in
got
New
it.
York. And I got invited to it. Steve Cozzolino, who
Yeah,
won
I
the
got invited.
auction
I,
overall.
I couldn't take on the roster. I was like, I just don't know. I'm trying to keep things tight. Appreciate the offer. I am interested, but I just can't. So your team must be pretty good though, because sitting Chris Sale, I understand the issues that Chris Sale's been having, but I think it's nuts that you're sitting Chris Sale.
I mean, I'm not because I
Well, you're
couldn't
not
move him out of my
anymore, but that
lineup,
you
but like
wanted to, I think, is crazy.
I had options this week, which was like really really nice. It's a really I played the middle, which I like to do in auctions. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a boomer bust team, and like right now my worst starting pitchers are like Trevor Rogers and um,
Chris
Jack
Sale.
Flaherty, Chris Sale, and Jose Suarez, and a 15
Okay,
team mix. Like that's my like
that's
I I
that's pretty
put in a
nice.
bid on like Taj Bradley in that league, but like
Yeah.
I didn't care that I didn't get him because I was like, oh well, like it's a really really good team.
And we'll talk more about him soon. We're going to get into the week's big pickups across deeper and shallow leagues. See where you were at with those guys, if you got anybody big. But let's talk some news real quick here. Let's start with the Yankees. And unfortunately, kind of an annual thing, sometimes multiple times a year. And it's Giancarlo Stanton getting hurt and going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury. And Oswaldo Peraza is, wait, no, it's Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald
Mhm.
Peraza, right? Very
Yes.
confusing. But yeah, so Stanton's out 4 to 6. When you're talking about Stanton, obviously that's part of what you're getting. That's part of why his price is where it's at. He was playing pretty well so far this year, although sub 300 OBP kind of whack. But 269, 296, 558 with 4 homers. So he's playing well. Are you holding Stanton in a shallower format with a month to 6 weeks off?
I don't think I am. Um,
I should mention hamstring, by the way, for the injury on
yeah,
this.
I mean, and this is like a reoccurring thing with him, right? Like is the whole like he just has these soft tissue injuries that continuously recur. Uh, and yeah, it says 4 to 6 weeks, but that could easily turn into like 6 to 8 weeks. And
Easy.
I mean, there's so many injuries right now. I mean, we're
I
just
know.
decimated by injuries on a lot of our teams. And so, like, yeah, if I'm in a position where I can't, put him on my IL pretty easily, yeah, I think he's a pretty easy drop for the most part.
And I do find, at least with all these injuries, waiver pools are pretty robust with hitting options at the very least. This
Mm-hmm.
is similar to last year. I think the major reason for that, of course, is the NLDH, just adding 14 more avenue or 15 more avenues for playing time. But we've just seen more and more hitters be available last year plus makes it a lot easier. So yeah, if you're dealing with a situation where your IL is already filled by some superstars and topper. I do think Stanton becomes a cut in shallower formats. 15 team NFBC style. What about there? 7 ILs or 7 reserves. Let's say you have 1 IL. Let's say you have Verlander or Seager. So
Mm-hmm.
you have 1 spot taken. I'm giving you a very specific scenario. This is not me, by the way. I have Verlander and Seager, but I don't have Stanton. I'm just saying you have 1 spot taken by 1 superstar. Do you stash a second guy of Stanton in a 15 team mixer?
I think you do. As long as we're not talking about like a daily lineups, right? In a daily lineups, like you need those bench spots to really churn, right? But even in like NFBC where you can like do the Friday switch, like I think you can get by.
I think so.
I think you just have to like be really careful about like kind of the makeup of your bench, and you can't be loaded up with a bunch of guys who are going to platoon because it's going to leave you with like times in which like if you're going up if one of your other hitter options going up against 2 lefties is going to sit both of those games. Now you're taking zeros 2 days out of 3 or 3 days out of 6 in the week and stuff like that. So I think this is why like those really boring guys that play every day become so valuable in those deeper formats because you're still getting stats every day.
And guys like that have upside. It's something that I get so annoyed when people talk about upside only through the view of young guys on the unknown. It's
Look
like,
what
hey,
Andrew McCutcheon's doing right now, baby.
yes.
Like
I mean,
playing
that's
every
a
day
great
and
call
crushing
out.
it.
His return to the Pirates has been great, and they haven't even had the furry convention yet. If you know, as far as that goes. But he's got 2 homers, 3 steals already. We talk about the steals are probably gone from him. He's been single digits for the last few years. Well, hey, he loves these new rules clearly because he's 3 for 4, 298 average, OBP through the roof at 426, 18% walk rate, and that's just one off the top of your head that you named. There's plenty of veterans that perform, and yeah, they're kind of boring, but then they can have a spike year. They just have a jump year up, and you get those guys that are consistent performers. And a lot of like the best players that get talked about in like the NFBC world, they are these boring drafter types. They don't go for every big flavor of the year, and and I like some of these guys like that I'm about to name, like Jordan Walker, Corbin Carroll, Gunnar Henderson. You can win doing that, but I'm saying like there's also plenty of success to be had, and maybe even more success to be had in stockpiling the guys that aren't like that give you less volatility. And sometimes I think we justify doing moves because of the overall, like, oh, I got to go for the overall, I got to go for the big shot. It's like you don't really have to do that. You do not have to.
You know what player is leading right now WRC plus in Major League Baseball?
I don't. Give me like one clue.
He plays third base. Very, very well.
Very, very. Nolan Arenado?
No.
Matt Chapman?
Chapman. It's got a 236 WRC plus. You could have got him super cheap this year. He's got 3 home runs, a stolen base, hitting 421, and only striking out 18.8%
if I
of the
recall,
time.
his Ks are way down with a corresponding swinging strike rate dip. And of course, he's not going to hit 421. Matt Chapman's not going to hold a 500 BABIP. But if there's something there, and all of a sudden you're getting his 27 plus homers, he's had his 27 exactly the last 2 years. He's been as high as 36. What if you're getting that with a 260 average? That doesn't jump off the page, but you are planning for a 225 average from him. So it does become a big, big deal there.
He's currently got a 387 XBA. He's getting lucky, but he's deserved a lot of it.
Yeah, things are falling when you have a 500 BABIP, no matter how well you're hitting. But from a 386 XBA,
31% barrel rate.
That's the thing. Matt Chapman is squaring up the ball and absolutely destroying it. So, yeah, don't be afraid to go for. And I think Stanton qualified in this realm of what we're talking about this year, except for the fact that he doesn't have the games played piece, but he does have like the boring, consistent production for like when he plays. Of course, you have to plan for some time down. Unfortunately, it looks like you could be looking at upwards of 2 months here. Oswald Peraza's coming up to take his place. I like Peraza. I'm big on Peraza and Cabrera. Was getting them a bunch in draft champions season, and obviously Cabrera's been up from day one. Peraza comes back up now. How do you feel about Peraza, and what kind of league type is he rosterable in right now? Had a little debut last year, held his own for sure. I'm not going to say the 146 WRC plus is who he is or anything, but power, a little bit of pop, has plenty of speed though. Do we think Peraza can be a game changer, and where are you picking him up?
Okay, so here's the thing. Like when I did my fab pickups this week, I needed a lot of MI. Lost Seager, lost other guys. Kyle Farmer was a guy I picked up in a lot of leagues last week that ended up having a drop because of his injury. And there were a lot of MI kind of guys available this week. Neto for me was number one.
Yeah,
But
Zach Neto. We'll get into him.
Peraza was number two for me. Like he was above Julian. And I think it's because I think the floor is safer than a guy like, while I like Julian's upside, if things all come together for him, he could be really, really interesting, but he could also lose his job really easily.
Be
Whereas
in the minors in 2 weeks, through no fault of his own, by the way.
Whereas I think Peraza, at least he's so good defensively. I think he's going to play a fair amount. Like I think they're going to figure out ways to get him in the lineup. With Stanton gone, that's one less person to kind of clog. The DH, which an infielder can then go to the DH.
Yeah,
to open up
some burn there.
Yeah.
Rizzo can get some burn there at DH so that they can get off their legs, and then Peraza can mix in and mix around, particularly the left side of the infield, maybe some second base as well. So yeah, I really do like Peraza, and I think with the way we're seeing steals go crazy, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Peraza got on that train and became.
He got
steals
5 in
asset.
AAA.
5 for 6 already in 9 games, 33 for 38 last year in AAA. Don't be surprised if 23-year-old Oswald Peraza is a steals guy. So 12 gamers?
Well, I was going to say, as much as Volpe, is this top prospect, he's hitting 191 and striking out like almost 30% of the time. Like this is a Yankees team that wants to win. Yes, he has 7 stolen bases, which is fantastic for fantasy. You're loving that. Hit a home run too. But
like flow, it should, and the strikeouts should come down because he's not swinging and missing a ton for Volpe. There are things that should improve, but to your point, you're just saying like he might not play every day now, right? Like you can mix in Peraza here, give Volpe a blow just to keep the pressure off of him a little bit.
Volpe could get sent down too.
That's definitely true. If he doesn't turn and improve the 81 WRC plus, I agree with that as well, and then Peraza could take over. But even if he doesn't.
There's not much in Volpe's profile that says he's going to turn around either. So, like, as much as like I really like him, I kind of have some FOMO from not getting him in any redraft leagues. I just have him in dynasty leagues. Like, I don't know that there's a ton in the profile that says Volpe is going to turn it around anytime soon. I think Peraza could take that spot.
I would love that for Peraza's sake. I'm not a Volpe hater or anything. I'm just saying, from Peraza's standpoint, if he got full time, I would love that. Didn't get him this week. Had focuses elsewhere, and we'll get to that when we get to the moves. But I like Peraza, and I think he's 12-team viable and could play himself into 10-team viability.
I picked him up in a bunch of 15s and a few 12s. Like I think he is 12-team viable.
If you're in a very shallow league, watch list him. You might be looking for Oswald Peraza later down the line. We got some pickups or some call-ups here. Let's actually move the guy up that you just talked about because you said that he was number 1 to Peraza as far as your middle infield pickups. Zach Neto coming up for the Angels, their top prospect. A surprise call-up because he made the jump from Double-A, and not only that, but he's drafted 9 minutes ago. And so now here he is getting the call up. Excuse me. After getting drafted last year, he has all of 37 games at Double-A, not even Triple-A, Double-A. But he's been so good there, and he was off to such a brilliant start. It literally a week though. That was enough. And they said, we need to make an impact. We need to be good. We need something that can come up and maybe turn the tide on things here. What do you think about Zach Neto? Like you said, he was your number 1 guy as far as middle infielder pickups. He led off today. The Angels are probably going to at least be committed to him for a decent period here to see if this works. I take it that you are quite interested in Zach Neto. Lead off the
Yeah,
last 2 days, by the way, I should say.
I mean, especially because he's leading off in front of like that top half of that Angels lineup that is so damn good. I mean, legitimately two of the best players to ever play the game, batting behind him in Trout and Ohtani. So, uh, I mean, I think there can be some growing pains. He doesn't have like the prettiest of swings, but he does make a lot of contact. He's got a good hit tool. I think in terms of like fantasy juice, he's probably more of some of all the parts kind of guy than he is
Definitely.
like got a carrying tool. But when you're leading off in, like I said, in front of two generational talents, that is a lot.
The
Um,
runs
yeah, a lot of
for Neto.
runs, enough power, enough stolen bases.
Yep.
I think he's got 2 hits today after starting like 0-8. So,
He did.
um,
Yep. Neto two for four today so far, and 3 homers, 3 steals, or excuse me, one for four with a run scored. But 3 homers, 3 steals in that first week. So again, just blazing hot in that first week, to where the Angels said, "Hey, come on up." And an 18% walk rate. It was
mhm.
only 6% in the 1 month he had it at Double A last year. So we don't know like where his walk rate is, but if he's taking the walks, that's a great way to score a bunch of runs because of who, like you mentioned, who is hitting directly behind him.
I'll be interested to see like how he sticks at shortstop because like I don't think he profiled as like a very good defensive player, and he was always kind of projected to play second long term. So I'll be interested to see like does his defense hurt him at all? But I mean, they sent down David Fletcher, who's
David
been kind of
Fletcher.
like a like I mean, he's never been
Great.
like a star for them, but like
No, but
he's been like a mainstay on that roster when
that's
he's
not the
healthy.
kind of
So
guy you expect to get sent down. I would say the
mhm.
same of Cole Irvin, right? Neither of them are stars, but they're the kind of guys that you're just like, that's
They're glue
surprising that they got
guys.
sent.
Like
They
yeah,
are,
like
right? They're just solid major leaguers, and
mhm.
both got sent out. And I found both to be pretty jarring there, where it's like, okay, especially Fletcher. He's even more established than Irvin, but
Mhm.
like, wow, okay, those guys are getting sent
I'll,
out.
I'll tell you though, Irvin is a reminder, for me, like those of you who play in draft champion styles league, like the reason why you don't take a bunch of shots on guys who are like not in the majors, but you're like, oh, look at the upside when they come up. And I've got plenty of pitchers, right?
Yeah,
I've got one league where like I had to start like Griffin Jacks and Patrick Corbin.
because
Uh,
you're toasted on
I have
viable
no other
arms.
pitchers. I have like 8 guys on the IL and 2 minor leaguers, and I was all like, and I didn't draft risky. Like I didn't like I've only got 9 healthy pitchers or like 10 healthy pitchers or something
It's
like that. It's
brutal, and
like
it happens so fast. It is April 17th, y'all,
yeah,
and
it's
this is
not
why we say,
June or July. Like this is
yeah,
like oh
and
my
this is why we say
god.
don't pick injured guys, because if you're already
Hmm.
bringing injury onto the roster, you're just asking to be in deep
Yeah.
shit. And like you're saying, don't draft the prospects that aren't in the league yet
Hmm.
either, for the same exact reason, because then you're going to have no freaking players to play.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that. But speaking of prospects, this is one, or no, sorry, the third one is one I was more interested in drafting because I figured he'd be up quick, if not breaking camp. But let's talk about Brian Bale first, because he debuted today against the Angels. Problem is, and this sucks too for Shohei, he finally has a two-step, and the weather ruins it because he only ends
Not
up going 2 innings.
not just a two-step, but like Brian Bale gets thrashed in the first inning. You're like, oh, easy win now. All he's got to do is go 5, and I'm getting the
Yep,
easy dub to
and you get
start off
nothing
my
because of the
week. And you
weather.
get, oh my god,
But let's talk about Bayo. Yeah, so that's Otani. Let's talk about Bayo coming up. He does indeed get thrashed. I think he's also looking at a two-step, but it's not confirmed because they could give it to Sale on Sunday. They don't have a like RotoWire when they do their probables. They bold the guys that are confirmed, and the Sunday one is not confirmed. But Bayo's currently in there, so he might get at Milwaukee. But where are you at on Bayo generally? And then I'll talk more about the specifics of Milwaukee and Cleveland, which are possibly his next 2 outings.
I mean, I like Bayo, but I think he's still a little bit raw. And we saw it today where he just had a lot of trouble, like commanding things inside the zone.
Yeah.
And you just kind of worry about a guy like that. Like the strikeout upside is huge. We saw that today, right? Like, 5 strikeouts and 2 2/3. But
You
I
throw in
just,
the weather too to like make it even worse, right? A guy who
yeah,
doesn't have command, weather can just exacerbate that to the max.
yeah. So gave up a lot of hits. Someone in my chat asked me like right before the game started, like, would you start Bayo? And I was like, no, I would not be starting Bayo, even
Oh,
with the
good.
potential of a two start. And they're still having mound problems. Eighth
Yeah,
inning.
they're fixing the mound right now here in the bottom of the eighth. Like it's so nasty. It's such a nasty game. And so again, I really do think that you factor that in too for somebody like Bayo, to where he was probably not at his best because of the weather making his already mediocre control and command
Mhm.
look worse.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
this
so
stuff's
then
good though. I mean, I really
yeah,
like the stuff.
so
I do
15s.
think I think he should be rostered in 15-team
What about
leagues.
12s?
No,
Is it the
it's a
old should be
stream.
on a roster but not yours, or is it a pure
I don't even.
stream?
I think he's a pure stream. I don't
Okay,
think.
I think so
I
too.
don't
By
think.
the way,
I
with
don't think
Bayo,
he's. Yeah, I don't think he's a guy that has to be on a roster. But I
it
think
looks like
you're
Bello,
watching
by
for
the way,
matchups.
but it is
Oh, it's
pronounced
Bello.
Bayo for those that don't
Yeah.
know. No,
Oh.
it is Bayo.
Oh,
But
I
I'm
was
just
like,
saying
I thought it was Bayo.
it looks like Bello for people that are like, who the hell's Bayo? It's not Scott Baio. It's Brian.
Cousin of Jello, pronounced J-O.
Correct. So let's talk about Brett Beatty. That's who I was suggesting. Like, if you took him in DCs, that one I understood a bit more. But even that's not a guarantee, right? So, you have to be careful drafting prospects. But I thought he had a chance to break camp, too. So those are the type of prospects that I'm more inclined to draft in DCs as opposed to the guys who we know, or at least the expectation is like, oh, they're not going to come up till the summer. It would have had to take something pretty bad for Beatty to not come up until the summer, because most people thought he could break camp over Escobar. They gave Escobar a little shot. He's terrible. Beatty's up. He's not even available in main events right now. Like, if so, it's like a small number.
Yeah,
Most
he
people
wasn't
held.
available in a single one of my leagues.
Yeah, most people held. Even 12s people were holding. I like Beatty quite a bit. He should get pretty much full burn here, right? Occasional day off, just like standard stuff. But are you treating Beatty as somebody who's up and ready to rock, and thus shallow league viable as well?
Yeah, someone asked me in my chat today, like, where would he rank among like other third basemen? I think he's probably already a top 12 guy.
I was gonna say 12 to 15. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the guys he asked me about were Josh Young, and who's the other one? I can't remember who it was, but whoever it was above Beatty. But I said I think I'd take Beatty over Young. Like, and I like Young.
I love
like,
Young, but I think that they're close. So let me see where I last had Young, and that will tell you, because I'll probably have them. I'll say neck and neck on them, and I have Young 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. So right, like I said, 12 to 15. And then there's other moves there. Like I have to update all the rankings and everything. So it's that 12 to 15 range, which I do think brings Beatty into 12 teamers, and maybe even some 10s if you use a corner. If you use the standard lineup, which is well, who cares about the catchers? But first, second, third, corner, middle, 5 outfielder, shortstop as well, of course, and util. I think some 10s have Beatty viable. If it's the 3 outfielder, and the reason I bring up the outfielder is because some like third base eligibles could be put into the outfield or whatever. If it's the 3 outfielders and no corner, he's more fringe for Beatty. But if it's the standard lineup, I think I would take a shot on Beatty.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, the power is legitimate. I think the tool is going to be really, really good. Yeah. It's in the middle of a pretty good Mets lineup. So yeah, I like Beatty a lot. I'm glad they brought him on.
Go out and get him. And he had a colossal week too. I talked about Neto's being insane. Beatty's was even more insane. There was that AAA for one. He was 5 homers, 2 for 4 on the bases. So running a bunch, not terribly successful, but like the chances are interesting. And then he was hitting 400, 500, 886. So
that's pretty good. I've heard that's pretty good.
Yeah, that checks out as pretty decent. So yeah, with Neto, Bayo, and Beatty, those are all guys who were getting picked up. Same with Peraza. But let's get into some other pickups here. Let's start with the guys that were mostly picked up in deeper leagues. This doesn't mean, and I'm going to ask you what you think about them for shallow, but these were the most picked up guys in the deeper format, i.e. the main event, which is 15-team mixed with that standard lineup that I was telling you about. Let's talk about Brent Rooker. Now, people might know the name Brent Rooker. He is the same guy that you're thinking of, who was bouncing around with the Twins a bit, has a little bit of punch, but can never really find a spot. Goes out to Oakland where playing time is plentiful, and he's cooking a bit. He has 4 homers in his first 10 games, 11% walk rate, 18% K rate, but I do find that 18% K rate to be pretty fraudulent. His swinging strike rate is exactly where it's always been. In fact, it's a tick higher, like a few points higher, when he put up a 32% K rate. So I think the batting average is coming down about 100 points. He's at 333 right now. I think he's more of a 230 type hitter. But with power and everyday playing time, that is 15-team viable. Was Brent Rooker somebody you were looking at for an outfield spot if you needed power this weekend?
No, just because I kind of know who Brent Rooker is, and he's the guy
He doesn't know who you are.
Oh, well, he should. He should know who I am.
I agree. He should. You're a good guy.
Yeah, we're both in the same area too, right? I'm like, 60 miles from
That's
Oakland.
right.
So
He should know everyone in that vicinity.
Absolutely. It's like when you say, "Oh, yeah, I went to the University of Texas."
Dude,
Do you know Jeff?
Yes, dude. I would get that. Like, dead serious too. Oh, I had a friend who went there, Jim. Yeah, I know. I fucking know Jim, dude.
You live in San Francisco? Do you know Philip?
Do you know Phil? Oh, and then with the UT thing, it's like when they graduate. Oh, 1986. I was 5. Okay,
Yeah.
so no, I don't know him. Thank you very much. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, we kind of know who Brent Rooker is. The tough part about picking up guys like this is you usually you missed like the best part, right? The reason that they're pick up a ball. I don't know, man. I think
let me give the devil's advocate argument, right?
Okay.
Right. On any other team in baseball, he would be a short side platoon guy because that's what he's kind of been his entire career. On the A's, he's gonna play every day.
3 hitter.
He's their number 3 hitter, and you look at their bench and you go, Tyler Wade's their only lefty on the bench.
Yep.
Like, and they're gonna platoon other guys before him, like until Seth Brown comes back, which is gonna be like 4 to 6 weeks. Like, he's gonna play every day now.
And
so the average will probably
necessarily take him out because Capel will just go back to the bench. He's not even playing all the time, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, so like, if you're looking for volume in a deeper league, you're gonna get it from Brent Rooker. Yes. I think the batting average could be like 230 something.
That's what I'm saying. 100 points off of what he has right now, and so it could be. Generally, what you would say, like projection wise, you would say that he hits 230 from here. But I think there's a world where he brings his current average down to 230, which means you're going to get quite a bit worse than that.
Like
from here forward.
Like, this is where he is at in the main. In the main, he went for as much as $135. I think the people who did that will probably regret the $100, their $300 triple digit bits.
Yes.
Someone got him in the main for $3.
That is the right
number. That I'm fine with that. Like,
honestly, there's a group here that got Brent Rooker under. Let's see here. Let me resort. Sorry, I lost my sort. All these folks that got him for like 50 and under, that's where I'm at. If you had a bit of a bigger need and you went higher because you believe,
which is the vast majority of the
and that works. But the big prices, I can't do it on Brent Rooker.
Yeah, no, I can't either.
And so,
especially because, you know what? One of the most common names that was dropped for Brent Rooker?
Who?
Oscar Gonzalez. How have the mighty has fallen?
Oh man! So we love to talk about the old victory laps and whatnot. If they're being dropped, can you already take the victory lap?
I think we can.
I mean, no, I don't want to get burned out.
I don't want to get burned out either.
I was so not in on him.
Yeah,
and it's not even that I think I'm like, listen, you want a victory lap? Me, go look at my main team, and you say, okay, well, you got Oscar Gonzalez right. Too bad you didn't get anything else right, Sporer. So I'm not even trying to act cool or whatever, and I'm also not preying on Gonzalez's downfall. He just wasn't a guy that struck me as somebody who was going to grow. I thought that last year was kind of the best that he could be, and I don't have him as a -7 WRC plus though. He will be better than that.
One of the problems with Oscar Gonzalez, though, was the exact same argument that people used to prop up Miles Straw last year, which was they don't have anybody else. Well, they figured things out.
And every team will.
Other guys,
that only lasts until you don't have a -7 WRC plus, right? Like you can maybe rock an 85 to 90 WRC plus for a while with they don't have anybody else. But when you start putting up a -7, then it's all bets are off, and all of a sudden you're going to only
Yeah.
be playing against lefties, and that's where Oscar Gonzalez is at right now. Jake Berger, an old buddy, I say as somebody who really liked him last year, and still believe that he can be something pretty decent. But he's getting some more PT right now with Yohan Moncada out. We kind of know who he is, though. He's a bit of an infield Brent Rooker. In fact, he's got 4 homers as well. His K rate's already at the 30% that Rooker will eventually be at. But he also has a 350 average. Again, that's coming down 100 points. But I like Berger right now while he's playing. What do you think of Jake Berger as a deep league pickup?
I picked him up in a couple leagues, including the aforementioned GDD GDD league that I had. I've always liked Berger. He was kind of like the most snake bitten dude, like in recent memory. Like it was kind of the Mitch Haniger at third base, right? Like where he just kept getting hurt. Like he tore his Achilles, and then when he was rehabbing, he tore his other one. Like it's just like just awful, like awful stuff. But he was a first round pick. Like this is a guy with real talent, and he's hit all the way through the minors. He's gonna have a high strikeout rate, but Yohan Moncada can't stay healthy. Like Yohan Moncada's already on the IL. And he's also not that good. Though he was playing pretty well.
He's playing better, and I root for him. This is a guy. Moncada's a guy that I root for, despite my feeling that like it's not going to be
Why
great.
do you root for him?
Why do I root for him? I just think he's a cool player.
I think you should root against him.
Why?
He got paid like $60 million. I mean,
begrudge him.
I don't.
I wish he could stay healthy. He had long COVID.
I'm playing.
I know you're goofing around, but like he had a bout with long COVID. He's just Yohan Moncada is a cool name, and so it's like I don't know. That's it. It's not that deep. With my
it is a cool name.
But I do like Berger, and I do think he can deliver homers and deep league power. So I do think he's certainly somebody to go get right now while he's playing. And I do think there's a world where if he plays well enough that he starts mixing in even when Moncada comes back. Now the tough part is the spots that he could go then, the first, third DH, they're all going to be covered by an established veteran with Eloy Jimenez, Andrew. Well, Vaughn's not really.
Well, he's played some second base too, so
that'd be huge.
Though I mean,
Sosa's the second baseman right now.
Yeah, so I mean, he could probably play some second base. I mean, I guess he's probably not going to supplant Vaughn, but like Vaughn hasn't been healthy, like super healthy either.
Yeah,
so
and Eloy just got off the IL, so it's like even when Moncada comes back, if Berger's playing well, it's not something that I would immediately move on from him. I would wait to see how things play out.
Yeah, he was just a cheap option for me. Like I got him for like $3 in a couple leagues.
We talked to Julian on Friday. He had a whatever weekend, like he hit a homer. He batted at the top of the order. But you keyed in on something I wanted to circle back on him for, and that's the only reason we're bringing him back up. He was a big pickup over the weekend. I don't know how long he's going to last. Polanco, Kirilloff, and I think even Gallo are all on rehab right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that do for Julian?
If he's not hitting, and I mean when I say not hitting, that does not include walking, because we know he can walk and walk a ton. But he's hitting like 190 right now. And if he doesn't turn it around quickly, then he's going to be back in the minor leagues. And so like one of the reasons I went with Peraza over Julian was just because I was afraid that the downside was not on a major league roster, where I think Peraza has at least got the amount of time that Stanton is on the IL, which 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even longer.
Peraza has more fantasy juice too. You think Julian will run as much? I know he's run, but like
no, I don't think he's gonna run a ton.
Like
Peraza could
steal guy.
I think Julian has more power.
That's fair. So I agree with that.
And like just a dynamic walk rate. So like he could potentially lead off, or be like high up in the order in Minnesota. Whereas I don't think Peraza is ever getting above like 6 or 7. Yep. Yeah. So
fully agree there.
So I think in that sense, I think Julian has reasons in the plus column to like him a lot. But if he can't make the kind of contact he needs to at least pull like a 250, 260 batting average, I think they're just going to go right back to Polanco once Polanco's healthy.
That's the thing. Polanco will play, so there's no way Polanco's sitting. So then you're looking for Julian to play where? The outfield, and then is he in a battle with Larnach?
Well, and here's one of the issues with Julian is he's not a good defensive player anywhere. Like he's
exactly.
just, we did talk about this last week where like he's kind of Daniel Murphy-esque in terms of like not having a defensive home.
Yep.
And especially when Gallo comes back or Kirilloff, especially because Kirilloff like should not ever play the field. Like they should bubble wrap him, only take the bubble wrap off for at bats and then put him back in bubble.
Put it right back in the bubble. Now,
like like some players wear the glove on their hands so that way when they're sliding.
Yes, he should have a whole body one.
He should have a whole body glove.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Julian. Julian's played some first in the minors, but not this year. I mean, he was in the minors for 5 minutes. So.
Aren't they playing like Donovan Solano right now?
And that's what I was going to say. But Kirilloff and Gallo both play first. So again, that's the thing. The pressure's kind of on Julian. So hopefully you didn't spend too much on him. If he's still available, keep the prices in check.
It's such a weirdly,
it could be a quick departure.
It's such a weirdly constructed team.
It is.
Because like their defense, like in the outfield, is amazing, and Correa is a good defensive player at short, but the rest of their infield defensively is like bad. Like Correct. Miranda is not good at third base, and and Polanco's not really good anywhere, and Julian's not really good anywhere. Donovan Solano playing first is weird. Like it's such a weirdly constructed
that's out of necessity.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that, and that's what makes Julian a tough one right now because there just aren't a lot of spots for him to finagle playing time. So he really needs to hit the ground running, or I think he'll end up back in the minors.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my boy Rodolfo Castro. There's nothing worse than having to buy back a guy that you drafted, but I did draft him and cut him. Now with the O'Neal Cruz injury, of course, his playing time opens back up. He's been basically taking over directly for Cruz, played mostly short, occasional third base. Gets a trip to Coors this week, which is the most appealing part of everything for him, and the fact that he's playing consistently. So I picked up Castro. What do you think of Castro? Second and third, by the way, so you get the corner middle as far as a deep league play, Rodolfo Castro.
I mean, talk about a guy with fantasy juice, and it's just a question of whether or not he's going to make enough contact to unlock it, right? We know there's power like in that profile. He's eligible at second, third, which you love getting that CI-MI kind of split. And Carlos Estevez is going to blow this fucking game.
Gagging right now.
Oh my God. Wow. I picked up Quieta. Is that how you say it?
Chiata.
I was in on a couple leagues.
So. I was in on Estevez before the season, and I got him in Draft Champions season. So if you join me on that train, I'm sorry that we are going to derail. It's not looking great there. But I didn't recommend him blindly and not take it with you. And I do think that there is something to that, right? If you're highly recommending a guy and then he flops and then you don't have him anywhere, it's like, well, why were you recommending him?
Listen,
don't worry.
When the ship goes down, we are often the ones captaining.
We are right there. If there's any comfort to that, don't worry. I'm going with you. But yeah, I agree with you on Castro. There's juice there. He's playing. Now he's in Colorado. So even as a short term, if you lost Seager, I wouldn't even mind just taking Castro for this first series. Just to get in Coors in a shallower format. And then if you want to make a move from there, sure. But take him in Coors and see what's up. All right, let's get into the pitchers. Taj Bradley was the big pickup. And I can't believe it, Justin, but I actually got him. And I didn't have to go super bananas for it. I got him at 186. And the coolest part about it for me was it was literally a last second. The clock said 8:59. The bids lock at 9. And I moved him from 177 to 186, just thinking, I'm going to go a little bit higher. I thought for sure I wasn't going to get him. I thought he'd go over 200 pretty much everywhere, but then I ended up getting him. I feel pretty good about it. I know you're not big on spending huge on guys, 300 plus type deal. This is a big one too, so if you don't like it, you can tell me. I'm not going to have my feelings hurt. But what do you think about what do you think about the Bradley bids after seeing them? Because I know we talked about him on Friday, so we don't have to talk too much about his skills.
Yeah, I mean, the skills are great. Like I mean, I love him. I just can't rationalize spending that kind of money. And I mean, you weren't nearly the big bidders. I mean, he went for 331 in my league. Our good friend Eno Saris over at the Athletics bet 350 on him. And I mean, when
Ooh.
Eno buys a pitcher like that, like it tells you like he's a really good pitcher. I still think it's a bad decision to spend that percentage of your fab
Out of a
um,
thousand, by the way, for those
out
that
of a
don't know.
thousand. Yeah, this early in the season, like it just, especially on a guy who I love his skills. Skills are great, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's still in the Rays,
Yep.
and the Rays like mess around with your young guys. They baby their young guys. So like he's probably going to be a 5 and dive guy a lot of the time, which means there's going to be quite a few starts where he's not going to qualify for a win. I
Well,
put in like 20, 30, $40 bids on him to
thankfully,
keep
there
it.
were none of those, and
Yeah.
a lot of times there is. So it's always worth putting a bid in, and you'll learn in the main event. Like you can go review where guys go everywhere, and sometimes you'll
Mhm.
see these bids, and you're like, I want to be in that league where the
Yeah.
star of the week goes for like $32 or some crap. So it's worth putting them in. Obviously, you pretty much knew you weren't going to get them, but you never know if you're going to get lucky. The lowest was 99. My friend was actually in that league, and I don't think he really needed pitching, so that's why he didn't even put like a low triple digits in. But yeah, that's the only one. And Estevez does get out of it with a Ref Schneider strikeout and then a Yoshida pop up. So Estevez lives.
I'm right behind you. So
Oh, sorry, I blew
uh,
it for you. But yeah, he
it's all
did
right.
survive there. Otani no win. Bayo, blows it early. You're figuring an easy Otani win in a two-step, and you can't even get that. I was really excited by the thoughts. There was some rumoring yesterday, and like RotoWire had put it in their pitching chart that Bradley was going to follow Beeks today, and I'm like, if they put him in the followers role,
Then he becomes
then
really,
then
really
I
interesting.
just stole. But no, they're going to let him start. This is something that Jeff Erickson brought up, and I totally agree with it as far as being something that could really be nice here. Are you heartened by the fact that Bradley threw or 133 innings last year in terms of having the innings managed? Because that's a pretty good workload. He's not on this double digit to where he can't make a jump this year.
I mean that helps a little bit for sure. They just play things so conservatively, especially with their
Sure.
young kind of potential stud guys. But what an embarrassment of riches the Rays have! Like
I
just
know. They lose
unreal. Like
Springs, and then Bradley just comes back up.
yeah.
What? Give me an innings total from here on out for Bradley.
From here on out,
Yeah, so minus. I mean, whatever number you have, -5, because he's throwing 5.
um, I'm gonna say 140.
Okay, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd be fine getting 140 innings from here forward of Taj Bradley. I think that would be good enough quality for what I paid. I paid big. I'm also terrible. My team sucks right now. He's not going to save my team. I understand that. That's not really why I put it. I would have put that pretty much no matter what. But there is a little extra of like, well, let's see what I can do here. Maybe I
I
amped it up that little extra
Well,
just
I
in
think you
case I could get
I
him.
think too, like you're in a position where like your team is really struggling, and so like you need to make a move. Like you like
I made some big moves this weekend.
yeah.
I got
So
Castro as well. I took the stash on Bailey Ober just because the pitching is so scant on the market. If I could get somebody of his quality who could maybe come up and be a part of that rotation, doesn't have a spot right now, but that is not the healthiest rotation ever.
yeah, I mean I'm in a different position where like my teams are also good
Okay,
that I don't
let's move
need a
on
guy
then.
like to spend on a guy like that.
You are tempting
Yeah, I really
phone
am.
gods.
Knock on some wood over here and
Ah, man, you are really tempting them. This is a guy that I was really interested in, but because I ended up getting Bradley and then Ober, I didn't get Griffin Canning. That's who I was really thinking I was going to get. Based on where my bids were and everything, I was like, oh, I'm probably going to end up with him because Bradley's going to go for like 250 plus. So I missed out on Canning. I'm not mad about it. I could have put him higher than Ober. Ober was my second highest bid, and Canning was, or no, Canning was my second, but it was in the Bradley chain. So once I got Bradley, I didn't get Canning. What do you think about Griffin Canning here? He's been highly skilled in the time that we've seen him. It is just a 448 Sierra in the 94 innings since, 214 innings. I was looking at his velo in the 214 innings spread out over the last 4 seasons. But there's real talent there. 15% strikeout minus walk is pretty good. 13% swing strike rate is really good. Are you a believer in Griffin Canning, and was he somebody you were eyeing this week?
He was definitely someone I had in my bid list, a little bit lower. I just don't trust the health. But let me take you back. Let's go back to 2019.
Yes.
And
so last 5 seasons. I said 4 seasons, but he missed 2022.
Yeah, but we're in Arizona. It's the fall. The 2019 season's over.
You're setting the scene.
And the talk of Arizona Fall League Conference, for the First Pitch Arizona Conference, is Griffin Canning. Yep. He is the dude. Nick Pollock of PitcherList.com does a whole panel just on how much he loves Griffin Canning.
And this is coming off of, let me give you a little bit of color to it. It was coming off of 90 innings of a 25% K rate, 8% walk rate. 4.58 ERA wasn't great because of a home run issue, but if he could have fixed that home run issue, a 122 whip isn't too bad. And there was talk of like, this guy could grow into something substantial.
Yeah. And I mean, so there is talent in the arm. Like I want, and I think in deeper leagues, he should be rostered probably in every league. And I think he's a guy you put on your watch list and maybe play matchups with in like your 10s and 12s. It's definitely something to watch. I don't trust the health because dude has not been able to stay healthy. And he's on the Angels who don't like healthy pitchers. So,
I hate him.
But they said he's going to stick in the rotation. It's a 6-man rotation, so or a 6-day rotation.
Yeah,
not really a 6-man.
It's like a makeshift situation that they're doing there.
Yeah, but I think he's a guy that you should be kind of keep an eye on because, like, why can't he be this year's Kyle Wright? A guy who had former prospect pedigree that had a lot of heat at one point, disappeared off, and then all of a sudden, like, wins 21 games, or he's probably not gonna win 21 games, but like has this huge break.
I like that.
Yeah. So like he could be this year's Kyle Wright, and no one would have talked about it.
Yep, that's a really good comp. Right down to the fact that he was overlooked as somebody this year. Coming in with the way they run the rotation, with the health that he's had or not had, as it were. And all of a sudden, could he be that dude? I do think so. So Griffin Canning, I'm picking him up in deeper leagues. I'm probably picking him up in some 12s. He does strike me as one of those guys that probably should be on a roster. It might not be yours. You could easily have too good of a staff. But there's somebody in the 12-team league, especially with all the rash of injuries we had last week, that can use him because pitching wires just aren't that robust right now. And then 10s, he's probably a standard streamer right now, maybe a team streamer. But keep tabs on Griffin Canning. I really do like him.
I mean, obviously we need to see more than just one start because we've only seen one start from him. But like, I really like how he's kind of changed like his pitch mix, right? Like he's only throwing the fastball like 25% of the time right now. He's really relying on the secondary stuff. That will keep hitters off balance and hopefully kind of quell that home run rate, which has been an issue when he has been on the mound.
Yep, sign me up for that with Griffin Canning. Let's move over to Brad Keller. He was picked up in some deep leagues here. He's showing some better skills, I guess. I don't know, 23% K rate, but the same swinging strike rates as usual. Home runs are being suppressed because he's got the ball on the ground per usual, and he's stranding everybody. So he has a 2.12 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP. I'm not sure that it's going to stick, but there is a pitch mix change. You just talked about that with Canning. Keller has one too. He's cut his fastball rate down to 41%, down from 58, usually in the 60s for most of his career, 58 last year, down to 41, and he's added a curveball. Is Brad Keller somebody who's on your radar?
Is it a curveball or is it a sweeper? Like, I can't remember.
It's the
sweeper, right? The sweeper.
He's swept up in the revolution, yes.
He's throwing it 25% of the time. Like, it's not like it's not like just I've got this pitch you have to think about every once in a while. Like, he's throwing it a lot. I mean, I still feel like this is all going to like come to a crashing halt as things warm up and the ball starts to fly a little bit more. But he's in the perfect location for him.
I wish I saw more swinging strikes for Keller.
Yeah.
That would have me more encouraged. Do you like the park? Protecting
exactly.
The weather help,
Yeah. Kansas City is just a great place to pitch, good division to pitch in, even though it is a more balanced schedule. Like I think he will probably get away with it more than he used to, but I still think eventually like this does come crashing to a halt, and like he's gonna have blow up outings at some point.
I tend to think so as well. I was single digits on Brad Keller. I couldn't really get
Me too.
too
Yeah,
crazy there.
he was on my
Johan,
list, but I didn't get him anywhere.
yeah, on my list, but deep. This guy was on my list last week, but Johan Oviedo still had some juice because he wasn't picked up everywhere. For the Pirates, came over from the Cards. I liked him back with the Cards. Live arm for sure. I'm definitely in on the Johan Oviedo train in deeper leagues. 15% swinging strike rate so far, generating a 24% K rate, and this is most important, 6% walk rate. If there's any legitimacy to that and he can keep the walks down, I think there could be something here. Now, he does seem to be doing the old command for control trade off here because he does have a 1-5 homer 9. So he's like filling the zone and not walking guys, but it has maybe made him a little bit more homer prone. But I think that's workable, right? It's a step forward, and then you would make another adjustment. And it's a 57% ground ball rate, which is also a spike. Is Johan Oviedo somebody who has hit your radar in deeper leagues?
Yeah, he was actually kind of a late DC guy for me. Like, so he's on a bunch of my DC teams. That I got in like the 43rd, 44th round type of guy.
Yeah, he was cheap. Oviedo was.
I like him. I do worry about the homers becoming an issue, especially with how live we see the ball is right now. As things warm up, I think it's going to be even more live than they already are. And like you said, he's ringed in the control at the expense of his command a little bit. At least it'll only be solo shots, right? Because he's not walking a lot of guys.
That's the thing. Yep. And you're not starting him in Colorado, so this is the guy that if you're picking up Oviedo, it was to immediately sit him, of course, because you don't want to take the shot in Colorado. I'm not that confident in him yet, but I do like him, and I think there's something working here that, if he then starts to curb the homers with the control improvements, then Oviedo can really become something. Pittsburgh, not the best developing team though, so there is some confidence.
They got some interesting young pitchers though.
They really do.
I mean, Luis Ortiz isn't even on the team right now.
And then Keller, Contreras, and Oviedo.
Like, why they need Vincent Velasquez and
no, Rich Hill's the real one though.
And Rich Hill.
If you think you see something in Velasquez that maybe you can, get 140
just
innings, like
make them a tandem though. Like, don't give away Luis Ortiz's spot on this roster
to start both Hill
both
and
of them.
You're right.
Because Rich Hill isn't going to go more than 4 innings anyways most nights. So
they'd be a
like,
good
why
tandem.
not just pair them up and then you can have Luis Ortiz on the roster? And like, one of my big issues with, like, because I was really high on Luis Ortiz early on in draft season, and then I started pumping the brakes, was because, like, what if they start doing what they did to Ronzi Contreras to Luis Ortiz? And I think they can do it to Oviedo as well, where it's like all of a sudden, like, he gets sent down for no reason. Like, he's pitching fine and he's gone for a month. And like, I just worry that is going to happen. So like, I don't mind investing in Oviedo, knowing that if they set him down, I'm probably going to have to drop him.
Yeah, I think that's what it would be. People took some time to learn that with Contreras last year because we kept waiting, and then you just realized you had to get rid of him. So if Oviedo falls victim to that as well, then you do just move on. Let's go to some guys that are picked up more in shallow leagues because they're not really available in the deeper formats. Let's start with your boy in San Francisco, J.D. Davis. We kind of know what J.D. Davis is, right? He's a crusher. He can absolutely smash the ball. Jock Peterson hits the IL, though, so there's room for both VR and Davis now. Instead of with Jock being there, it's tougher for all three of them to fit. Is J.D. Davis somebody that you're interested in? He's hitting 4 every day. He's playing third base. He's crushing, like I said, 341, 391, 659, 4 homers. Is this another Brent Rooker situation? Is this better than Brent Rooker? Like, where are we at on J.D. Davis?
Can I know that this is fraudulent and still be really upset that I didn't get any of it? Because, like,
sure.
I was such a big J.D. Davis fan. I was such a big, but like, he just never got the opportunity in New York that he needed. And when he went to San Francisco, I was all like, well, now he's going to be like short side platoon,
of course,
and like, and he's just never going to play full time. But like, I always knew the talent was in there for him to like be a 30 home run bat if he ever got the opportunity. Here's the thing, like, he is who he is though. Like, he's got a sub 80% zone contact rate when like 84, 85% is around, usual around league average. He's swinging outside the zone over a third of the time. He's got like a 15% swinging strike rate, which is like down. Like, oh no, it's literally exactly his career mark. But it's down from the last 2 seasons where he was at like 19 and 17. He's going to strike out 30% of the time. He is going to hit for a ton of power when he's playing. The question is, how long do the Giants let him play for?
Exactly. And I think he's more Jake Berger than Brent Rooker, by the way, as far as the comps of players that we've already done. He's basically just an NL version of Jake Berger, which has value, but it's not a ton. And I think the shallow leagues are picking him up for a short term right now. You need to know if you're picking J.D. Davis up in a short term, in a shallow league, that it is going to be a short term thing.
I mean, they've got the exact same guy at the exact same position as him, is the problem. They've got VR. Like, it's like, and so like, they're just going to run with whoever's hot in that moment. Like, both these guys are the same player. Like, it's even weird that they're both on the roster together. Like, I do wonder if
Jock too. Not that Jock plays.
Well,
third,
Jock's hurt, so.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it creates. That's why it opens up the door.
Yeah,
VR's a righty as well, so they're both righties, and Jock takes the DH spots against the strong side when he's healthy, but he's not right now, so that's why Davis and VR can both play. Let's talk about Andrew McCutchen. Well, actually, we already talked about him incidentally, so there's a whole bunch more to say. But are you picking him up in some shallower formats?
Yeah, I think
maybe even 10s.
He's sitting like 3rd and 4th in this lineup. Like, he's playing every day. And what did I say all draft season long?
Somebody
right?
told me that this offense isn't that bad.
This Pirates offense is not as bad as people make it out
They're
to
9
be.
and 7 right
now. Even missing a piece right now, like it's still a pretty good offense. I mean, he's going to be a fun player to watch until he gets traded at the deadline for.
I think they'll trade him.
Why wouldn't they?
Because he's a
They've traded him before.
I mean,
when he was good, they
true.
traded him
That's
when
true.
he was great.
That's
like,
true.
why wouldn't they trade him when he's like old?
I don't know.
Now?
I just figure if you bring him back, you're gonna stick with it. But no, yeah, maybe they're bringing him back to trade him yet again.
Yeah.
I think here's what I'll say. I think if he didn't want to be traded, that they wouldn't. I think that there's enough of a relationship there that if they're like, well, hey, we got to trade for you to here, are you interested? That he could say no. I think that they would.
Would he say no though? Like, I mean, if he's getting traded, he's going to a contender that has a chance to. He wants to win a World Series.
He came back to Pittsburgh, so he doesn't want a World Series that badly.
He came back to Pittsburgh so he could play full time.
Okay, so then, if you're going to go to a contender, unless they have an injury,
and because they're probably paying
play
him
full time, so all I'm saying is I think it would be something that he would be in on if he got traded for McCutchen. I think it'd be something where they would talk to him and be like,
they don't care.
Do you want
this? They don't care.
I disagree with you. This is a legacy player. I totally think that he is somebody, he would be in on the process of himself getting traded.
Board bet, he's traded at the deadline.
I'm not disputing that. I'm saying that he's guaranteed to be a part of it if he is, which we can't prove. I just think, and I think if he doesn't want to, then they won't.
Well, I'll tweet at him. I'll tweet at him at the trade deadline. Are they asking you if you want to be traded?
Yes. And if you can get a definitive answer,
he's pretty active on Twitter.
Out of the process, then you can say that you want.
He's a fantastic TikTok follow.
He's great. He's such a good dude. Can't wait for him on TV after his career if that's what he chooses to do.
Oh, absolutely.
He's an electric personality.
Yeah, he should be definitely on one of like the big panels.
Yeah, I love Kutch. P. Wizzy, Patrick Wisdom. I mean, this is the theme of today because he's definitely a Jake Berger, Brent Rooker.
Yeah.
He is cooking right now. 6 homers, 1008 OPS. You just ride it while it's hot. Is it shallow league worthy for you right now with Patrick Wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the old Dennis Green. He is who we thought he was, and teams are just letting him off the hook. Like he's actually making like more contact than he's ever made in like a Cubs uniform, but it's still like 4 or 5% below league average. So
it's still a 31% K rate. Like,
yeah,
and only 7% walks. Like it's not different. He's just hot. So again, you can ride it. But this is very short term if you're picking him up in shallow. I think even if you picked him up in deeper, that it's short term with Patrick Wisdom. I really don't think that he necessarily is somebody who's going to be held all year.
He's got 6 home runs and 9 RBIs.
And they're not even that bad, I guess.
No, like I don't know
anybody on in front of him.
They just like, Wisdom's coming up. I'm going to strike out right here.
Here is the total opposite player, though. Harold Ramirez for the Rays, starting to get some shallow league burn. He's kind of like Yandy Diaz, who, by the way, I'll acknowledge Yandy Diaz of old, because Yandy Diaz this year has found some lift and he's got some pop. But pre that pop, and we'll see if it sticks. Harold Ramirez is similar, where it's like he's a good batting average, doesn't strike out, never really has much pop. He himself, Harold Ramirez, does have 3 homers so far, though. Half of what he put up last year in 10x as many plate appearances. Is this a growth opportunity for Harold Ramirez or a hot streak? And then he'll go homerless for 40 games soon.
Okay, so he is a career 10% homer to fly ball rate guy. He's at 25% right now. Like he's not even like
that's gonna stick.
Yeah, he's not even like putting the ball in the air a ton. I mean, more than he normally does, but it's still 35% of the time. 50% ground ball rate. Like, yeah, this is just like a kind of luck situation, hot streak situation. I mean, I don't even want to call it like a hot streak situation because it's like, a quarter of his fly balls are going out right now. That's just gonna stop. So like. Yeah, I think he can get good batting average, and he's playing regularly. I've got him rostered in some deeper leagues because he's going to play a fair amount. But yeah, I would not.
Shallow leagues with Harold Ramirez, like
sure, why not? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I really want to pick him up. I just think there's so much better fantasy juice in the shallower formats. Like
there's gotta be.
Yeah,
but he was picked up a decent bid, so that's why I included him here. John Birdie getting picked up more lately too, because I guess he's hit a few homers, weirdly enough. But he's back to running again. He's 4 for 4 on the bases. Oh, just 1 homer. I don't think he's a good hitter, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere near what he was last year. I guess if you're desperate for steals, sure, but there has to be somebody better on the wire. But he was picked up in a decent number of shallow leagues, so I brought up John Birdie for that reason. Are you picking him up anywhere?
No, I don't care. Like, I mean,
yeah, I don't buy him at all.
I mean, you're talking about a guy like right now. If to get those stolen bases, which you can get in other places this year, you're eating a 240 batting average, like
exactly, and a 60 WRC plus.
Yeah, a 269 on base percentage. He's walking 4% of the time and hitting, 240. No thanks.
Yeah, pass. The only thing is he might play because he's a better defender than Joey Wendell, and because Joey Wendell's on the IL.
Yeah,
primarily. But
that's actually a negative because then you're eating all of that batting average.
You almost like him as a sub to come in, like pinch run, maybe get one at bat, and then John Birdie can still get you the steals because he can still get you a high volume without starting every day. So you're right, it actually is a negative that he's playing. Good call. Let's go to the pitchers that have been picked up in some shallower formats. Brad Boxberger, there was a Michael Fulmer blown save, and then Boxberger got a 2, and then Boxberger got the 1 on Sunday. Fulmer did pitch the 8th in that game, though, so I don't think Fulmer's like cooked. But I understand the guy comes in and gets a save, especially a Sunday save. He's going to be more popular. Are you in on Boxberger shares, and are you out on Fulmer? Double.
No, I think Fulmer's going to be fine. I think so too. He's just a better pitcher. Would you pick up Box,
though, or do you think it's going to be like Fulmer's
maybe
be the man, or you think split?
Maybe I'd handcuff Fulmer, just for the next week or two, just to make sure in case it does switch hands. But I mean, I think Fulmer's just the superior pitcher at this point in both of their careers.
I agree. No, I totally agree there. We don't need to go much deeper than that. Let's go back out to your San Francisco Giants. Alex Wood actually just traded for him this morning. Made a little deal in tout to get Alex Wood. Solid pitcher, obviously, when he's healthy. He's getting picked up a bit more. He's got 7 2/3 of a 1.17 ERA, but a 1.57 WHIP. I know that you're scared because of your team's defense, which I totally get. I'm not worried about the big walk rate spike that he has. It's 5 walks in his 2 starts for Alex Wood. But where are you generally, now that you've seen a couple weeks, is the defense as bad as you thought? Is it worse? Are you still like nervous of the Alexes, Cobb and Wood? Where do you stand on the Giants and specifically Wood?
Yeah, I'm still nervous because I think it is still bad. That being said, they've got so many good pitchers.
I know they're wasting so many of them with that shit defense. Desclafani's looking great. Maya has had some ups and downs.
I think Manaya's going to end up just being a bullpen piece to strengthen that bullpen because the bullpen has been really bad.
Yeah,
Um,
he could be
and
awesome in the pen though, and
I
they got
think,
Stripling in the pen right now though too.
yeah, I think Stripling should be a starter, and I think Manaya should be in the pen.
Mania should come out of the pen for Stripling and Desclafani with regularity, pitch 2 to 3
Yeah,
innings. Split them up in the rotation so he's not going back to back days, of course.
yep.
And I think that'd be a great way to use Mania.
I that's exactly what I would do. As far as Wood goes, like I mean, Wood's a guy I've always really liked when he's healthy. Right now,
Yep.
he's healthy. I'm rolling with him.
2-step this week too at Miami, home to the Mets.
A perfect 2-step. Like
So I think that works. The tough part of it's at home with the Mets, and you get to go to Miami. So I like that for Alex Wood. What about Kyle Bradish returning from the IL from his foot issue? He got hit with a batted ball. He had a rehab start at Bowie. He's back. He's facing Washington this week. Are you going for Kyle Bradish?
Yeah, I threw him into my lineup.
Me too.
So in the majority of the spots where I have him, I'm really hoping. You know, I mean, this is a guy you and I both really liked coming into or during draft season and into the season. It was a bummer to see him get hurt early, but he came back really quickly. So if he got dropped in your league, I think he is a guy you really want to pick up right now.
Yeah, and Bradish sets up for a 2-step next week. I say sets up specifically because we're seeing some weather on the East and Midwest right now. So if something happened to that Washington game, that would throw the 2-step out of sorts because then he'd probably get pushed to Friday because they have an off day Thursday. Only 5 games this week for Baltimore.
Well, I mean, they may end up just pitching on or playing it on Thursday then, right? I mean,
oh yeah, that's a good point. But that
they've
would
got
still,
the
that
off
would still
day,
push him
so.
off kilter though. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, never mind. No.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. So if they just played it the next day, then that would actually be fine. Great call. But yeah, Kyle Bradish definitely in. Go pick him up where he's available in your shallow leagues. What about Braxton Garrett? A guy that's getting some buzz in the shallower formats as well. Penciled in right now to face at Cleveland this weekend, or this, well, I guess Friday. I kind of count Friday as the weekend. But on Friday, what do you think of Braxton Garrett? Is he somebody who can stick and be a shallow league viable arm consistently?
I think so. Like, I don't think he's got a ton of upside necessarily, but like, I do think he could be a middle of the rotation kind of guy, short term and long term. He looked pretty good against Arizona, so yeah, I was worried he wasn't gonna have a rotation spot, but it looks like he's got one sewn up right now. So I think he should be rostered probably in every format at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Team Streamer, I think in the shallower formats for Braxton Garrett. Like, I'll take the start this week at Cleveland, but I'll then sit him next week at Atlanta. But I don't want to let my league get a shot at him because I do think he can be somebody who's pretty darn good. And I love pitching in Miami. You know, having guys that pitch down there.
Yeah, I don't know how good the strikeouts are going to be. I mean, he pitches a lot to contact. His strike rate's only around 10%, but I think he can be. You know, he hasn't been walking guys. He's not like a big home run kind of guy. He's got really good command. So, I think he could be a really solid ratio helper in a good park that already helps protect your ratios.
Absolutely. That's Braxton Garrett. And we'll finish with Matt Strom, who is pitching for Philly, trying to kind of expand his stamina here and get built up. But is he going to get built up just to get taken out of the rotation? That's kind of my concern with Matt Strom. Do you think he can stick, and would you be picking him up in shallower formats?
Who would they be putting in the rotation over him?
Suarez.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And then Falter's pitching pretty well.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't faltered.
To where he would, yeah, he has not faltered. So then he wouldn't exactly get kicked out. And we talked a bit about him actually on Friday. So this is kind of a recall on Strom, but I'm just wondering if you think he's shallowly viable because we talked about him as a deep league guy. Oh no, it was not Friday, it was last Monday because he was the deep league pickup last week. So we're revisiting Strom now as a shallow league pickup. Are you still liking him there? Because I think we said some positive things about him for the deep pickups. What
I wasn't really in on him mostly because he wasn't going to go deep enough to win games.
And you really need that in the shallower format.
Yeah, and so I'm still probably not in on him. I think in deeper formats, he's one of those guys that could be a piggybacker, especially, who knows how deep Suarez is going to be able to go, when he first, gets going and stuff like that. And then Falter can be a guy that maybe Strom kind of, follows up on, even though he's a lefty. So
Suarez, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe Walker Like if Walker goes
Yeah.
4 or 5, Strom comes in those middle innings, pitches 2 to 3, and then he could be a sneaky guy for deep leagues. I do think if you're picking him up this week for a shallow league against Colorado at home, I got no problem with that. But this is very short term for shallow
Yeah,
formats.
I do. I
I
think
just
that's
don't know
true.
what kind of innings you're going to get from Matt Strom.
Who knows? Because this is a team full of guys that it's not like Suarez has been the healthiest guy.
No.
Wheeler's definitely not been the healthiest guy. Walker's definitely not been the healthy. So he could find himself back in the rotation here at some point.
Exactly. It's not completely over for Strom. And maybe if Strom proves himself, Ranger Suarez is not somebody who automatically forces you out of the rotation. And I like Suarez a bit, but I agree with that there too. So those are some of the guys that we're looking at. If they had any pickups that you had questions about, hit us in the comments or on Twitter. A little bit of a schedule situation this week. There will be a second episode. We don't know exactly what it'll be, but it won't be us together because I'll be gone on Friday. So it'll either be me doing a solo or a guest, or Justin doing a guest episode. So
and then I apologize. Jason had to cancel last minute for the Sunday episode, but I'm going to start booking guests. So if there's someone you want to hear, especially someone who's never been on the pod before or hasn't been on in a long time, let me know, and I'll start booking Sunday guests that way when Jason's traveling or it's got something going on. I still have someone to roll with because unlike Paul, I'm not good at the solo episodes. You're not going to hear me ever do a solo episode on this podcast platform.
Well, we'll see if people think it's good or not. But I am.
You're great at it, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm always super, super impressed. My biggest fear is having to talk in front of a group of people by myself.
By yourself? I guess I definitely don't mind doing that. So it'll either be that or a guest episode. But you will have a second one on the feed, and then when you and I will reconvene next Monday. All right, man, take care.
Take it easy.